Hello and welcome to KG Graves, number 5, Alabama. I would be most grateful if you would like, subscribe and hit the bell for more content like this. Thank you. Alabama is the 22nd US state, also known as the Heart of Dixie, whose capital is Montgomery. I was on holiday in Alabama from the 21st of July to the 11th of August 2010 and visited 3 cemeteries covered in this video on the 2nd of August, finding 4 celebrity graves. Okay, so let's get started. The first cemetery I visited was Elmwood in Birmingham. Let's take a look. The grave here is Eddie Kendricks. Eddie James Kendrick, later changed to Kendricks, adding the S to his surname, was born on the 17th of December 1939 in Union Springs, Alabama. He was a singer-songwriter. His family moved to the Ensley neighborhood of Birmingham, where he met and began singing with his best friend Paul Williams in their church choir in the late 1940s. In 1955, Kendricks, Williams and friends Kel Osborne and Jerome Averett formed a doo-wop group called the Cavaliers. To make a better chance of success, the band moved to Detroit, Michigan and changed their name to the Primes. In 1961, Osborne moved to California and the Primes disbanded. Eddie and Paul joined forces with Elbridge Al Bryant, Otis Williams and Melvin Blue Franklin of the group Otis Williams and the Distance after 2 members quit. They became the Elgins, who on the same day changed their name to the Temptations and signed to Motown Records. In America they quickly became the most successful male group in the 1960s, with hits including Get Ready, Just My Imagination, Cloud 9 and Ball of Confusion, to name a few. In the UK, they had 28 top 75 hits between 1965 and 1992, their biggest hit being a reissue of their first single, My Girl, which got to number 2 in the charts in 1992. In the Temptations, Eddie was responsible for creating most of the group's vocal arrangements and served as wardrobe manager, including the now famous purple suits the group wore. In 1969, Eddie won a Grammy Award for the song Cloud 9. Due to musical differences and issues with the band members, Eddie decided to leave the group and go solo in 1971. After limited success, Eddie scored a US #1 hit in 1973 with Keep On Truckin'. It reached number 18 in the UK charts. His only other hit to chart in the UK was Boogie Down, reaching number 39 in 1974. After several other US hits, Eddie decided to leave Motown Records in 1978 and switched to Arista and then Atlantic Records. By this time his voice had deteriorated due to chain smoking for many years. In 1982 he rejoined the Temptations for a reunion tour, but was struggling to hit the high notes and went to a doctor who discovered a tiny cancer cell on one of his lungs. However, he refused to have chemotherapy at the time because of fear that it would lose his hair. In 1985, Eddie participated in a Hall & Oates live album, Live at the Apollo, together with former Temptation David Ruffin. The recording was released as a UK single called A Night at the Apollo Live, reaching number 58. In 1989, Eddie and other Temptation bandmates were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 1991, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. This led to him having surgery to have one of his lungs removed in the hope that it would prevent the spread of cancer. Eddie died of lung cancer at the Baptist Medical Center, Princeton in Birmingham on the 5th of October 1992 at the age of 52. He had 3 children, Paris, Ika and Paul, named after his lifetime friend Paul Williams. The second cemetery is Maple Hill in Huntsville. Let's take a look. Here we find Harry Townes. Harry Rhett Townes was born on the 18th of September 1914 in Huntsville. He was an American actor who started his career performing in New York stage and Broadway plays. During World War II, he left the stage to enlist in the United States Army Air Corps. Harry served for 4 years and was discharged in 1946, returning to performing on the stage, and then relocated to California to perform in Hollywood. Harry appeared in many TV shows, including 5 guest appearances on Perry Mason, 3 on Bonanza, 7 on Gunsmoke and in The Fugitive. He also appeared on Star Trek The Original Series. In total, Harry appeared in 29 films and more than 200 TV roles. He gained a cult following with a younger audience for a solo shot on The First, a 2-part episode of The Incredible Hulk, in which he portrays Del Fry, a man with the ability to transform as well into a Hulk-like creature. The First is one of the more popular episodes from the television series, largely because of Harry's performance. Harry was ordained as an Episcopal minister in St. Paul's Cathedral on the 16th of March 1974. He retired from acting in 1989 and returned to his hometown of Huntsville, where he lived for the remainder of his life. On the 23rd of May 2001, Harry died at his home at the age of 86. The third cemetery is the Oakwood Cemetery Annex in Montgomery, where we visit the graves of husband and wife Hank Williams Sr. and Audrey May Williams, née Shepherd. Hank Williams. Hiram Williams was born on the 17th of September 1923 in Mount Olive, Butler County. He was an American singer-songwriter and musician. He was born with the spina bifida occulta, a birth defect of the spinal column, which gave him lifelong pain and became a factor in his later alcohol and drug abuse. Hank met Rufus T-Top Payne, a street performer. He would give Hank guitar lessons in exchange for money and meals prepared by his mother Lila. Regarded as one of the most significant and influential American singers and songwriters of the 20th century, he recorded 55 singles, 5 released posthumously, that reached the top 10 in the American Billboard Country and Western Bestsellers charts, including 12 that reached number 1, 3 posthumously. In 1937 in Montgomery, he changed his name from Hiram to Hank, and began his music career when producers at local radio station WSFA hired him to perform a 15-minute program for $15 a week. He formed the Drifting Cowboys backup band, which was managed by his mother. He dropped out of school in October 1939 to devote his time to his music career. When several of his band members were drafted during World War II, he had trouble with their replacements, and WSFA terminated his contract in August 1942 because of his alcoholism. Hank himself could not enlist due to suffering a back injury while riding a bull in a Texas rodeo. He worked for the rest of the war for a shipbuilding company in Mobile, Alabama, as well as singing in bars for soldiers. In 1943, Hank met Audrey Shepherd at a medicine show in Banks, Alabama. They lived and worked together in Mobile, and Audrey later told Hank that she wanted to move to Montgomery with him and start a band together. The couple were married in 1944 at a Texaco station in Andalusia, Alabama, by a justice of the peace. The marriage was declared illegal since Audrey's divorce from her previous husband did not comply with the legally required 60-day trial reconciliation. In 1945, when he was back in Montgomery, Hank started to perform again for the WSFA radio station. He published his first 10-song songbook called Original Songs of Hank Williams. With Hank beginning to be recognized as a songwriter, Audrey became his manager and occasionally accompanied him on duets in some of the live concerts. On the 14th of September 1946, he auditioned for Nashville's Grand Ole Opry, but was rejected. On the 11th of December 1946, Fred Rose of the company Acuff Rose Music signed Hank for a 6-song recording on the Sterling Records. In 1947, Hank signed a deal with MGM Records, releasing the song Move It On Over, considered to be an early version of rock and roll. After releasing more songs and touring the country, on the 11th of June 1949, Hank made his debut at the Grand Ole Opry, where he became the first performer to receive 6 encores. Reforming the Drifting Cowboys, they were earning $1,000 per show. That same year, Audrey and Hank had their first child, Randall Hank Williams Jr. He then travelled to England and Germany to perform at military bases. In 1950, Hank began recording as Luke the Drifter for his religious theme songs, but tried to keep it a secret in fear that it would lose his usual fan base. In the summer of 1951, his career reached a peak with his Hadacol tour of the US with Bob Hope and other actors. On the weekend after the tour ended, Hank was photographed backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, signing a motion picture deal with MGM. On the 14th of November 1951, he flew to New York with his steel guitar player Don Helms, where he appeared on television for the first time on the Perry Como Show. There Ian Perry Como sang Hey Good Lookin'. In November 1951, he fell during a hunting trip with his fiddler Jerry Rivers in Franklin, Tennessee. The fall reactivated his old back pains. He later started to consume painkillers, including morphine and alcohol, to help ease the pain. On the 21st of May, he had been admitted to North Louisiana Sanitarium for the treatment of his alcoholism, leaving on the 24th of May. On the 13th of December 1951, he had a spinal fusion at the Vanderbilt University Hospital, being released on the 24th of December. On the 29th of May 1952, Audrey divorced Hank. He then had a relationship with a woman named Bobby Jett, which resulted in a daughter called Jet Williams. She was born 5 days after Hank's death. His mother adopted Jet, who was made a ward of the state after her grandmother died, and then she was adopted by another couple. Jet did not learn that she was Hank's daughter until the early 1980s. Hank met Billie Jean Jones, a girlfriend of country singer Faron Young, at the Grand Ole Opry. As a girl, Billie had lived down the street from Hank when he was in the Louisiana hayride, and now he began to visit her frequently in Shreveport, causing him to miss many Grand Ole Opry appearances. On the 11th of August 1952, Hank was dismissed from the Grand Ole Opry for habitual drunkenness and missing shows. On the 18th of October 1952, he married Billie Jean Jones in Minden, Louisiana. After Hank's death, a judge ruled that the wedding was not legal because Billie's divorce had not become final until 11 days after she married him. His first wife and his mother were the driving forces behind having the marriage declared invalid, and they pursued the matter for years. Hank had also married Audrey before her divorce was final, on the 10th day of the required 60-day reconciliation period. A man named Louis Fitzgerald, born in 1943, claimed to be Hank's illegitimate son, being the son of Mary McNeil, Hank's cousin. By the end of the year, he began to have heart problems. He met a man claiming to be a doctor, Horace Toby Marshall, who prescribed him amphetamines, Seconal, chloral hydrate, and morphine, which in fact made his heart problems worse. His final concert was held in Austin, Texas, at the Skyline Club on the 19th of December. Hank hired a college student, Charles Carr, to drive him to concerts, and around midnight on the 1st of January 1953, when the two crossed the Tennessee state line and arrived in Bristol, Virginia, Charles stopped at a small all-night restaurant and asked Hank if he wanted to eat. He said no, he did not, and those are believed to be his last words. Charles later drove on until he stopped for fuel at a gas station in Oak Hill, West Virginia, where he realized that Hank had been dead for so long that rigor mortis had already set in. On the 2nd of January, Hank's body was transported to Montgomery, Alabama, where it was placed in a silver casket and was displayed at his mother's boarding house for 2 days. His funeral took place on the 4th of January at the Montgomery Auditorium, with his casket placed on the flower-covered stage. An estimated 15,000 to 25,000 passed by the silver casket, and the auditorium was filled with 2,750 mourners. His funeral was said to have been far larger than anyone had ever held for any other citizen of Alabama, and the largest ever held in Montgomery. Hank officially died on the 1st of January 1953. On the 8th of February 1960, he had a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6400 Hollywood Boulevard. He was inducted into the Country Hall Music of Fame in 1961 and into the Alabama Music Hall of Fame in 1985. And now a few brief words on Hank's first wife, Audrey Williams. Audrey Mae Shepherd was born on the 28th of February 1923 and was a country singer. She was the first wife of country singer and musician Hank Williams Sr. and mother of Hank Williams Jr. She often played and sang in her husband's band and gained her own fame and popularity, singing on several of his songs. Their marriage ended in divorce in 1952, and after Hank's death in 1953, she paid for the rights to work professionally as a Hank Williams widow. She died on the 4th of November 1975 at the age of 52. That completes the Alabama graves. I hope you have enjoyed them. Here is the only grave location available at the time. If you have enjoyed watching this video, then please like, subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.